All right. So we're going to finish up today, and we have the Bailey Schools. Excuse me. I still have the hiccups. They won't go away. The Bailey School kids, werewolves don't go to summer camp. We're going to pick up on Chapter 9 where we left off, talking about an unusual tree. And if you remember in the last chapter, the kids were in the woods and they found mistletoe and wolfsbane, but they don't actually know how to use it. But they have somehow managed to obtain said things while getting lost. And Mr. Jenkins has found them and brought them back, and is more or less threatening a night hike so that they know how to survive in the dark. So here we go, Chapter 9, An Unusual Treat. When they got back to camp, they headed right for the dining hall. Eddie was so hungry he crammed half of a peanut butter sandwich into his mouth. How could you think of eating at a time like this, Melanie snapped. We need to figure out what to do with these plants. There'll be plenty of time after lunch for that, Eddie said with his mouth full. But Eddie was wrong. They barely had time to finish their ice cream sandwiches before Mr. Jenkins started shouting directions. Campers need to take survival skills, so this afternoon we'll go on a learning hike. Oh boy. Mr. Jenkins tossed backpacks to the campers. You need to fill your canteens with water and pick up a snack from the kitchen. Meet back here in 15 minutes. Melanie grabbed Eddie's arm as they walked to the kitchen. Now what are we going to do? We haven't had time to spread the wolfsbane or mistletoe. Eddie jerked his arm away. Just make sure to bring it with you. I think we'll be safe as long as we carry some. When everybody was ready, Mr. Jenkins started down the trail. Howie, Eddie, Melanie, and Liza followed right behind him. Their pockets bulged with the mistletoe and the wolfsbane. We're going to hike to a remote area today, Mr. Jenkins yelled over his shoulder. Very few people know where it is. I'm trying to repeat my words like a stutter today. I don't get it, but here we are. Eddie jabbed Howie in the ribs. That I could eat 2 humps of a camel, Howie exclaimed. I'm too tired to eat, Melanie complained. Oh, wait a minute. I feel like I skipped a page. Something's wrong here. Uh-oh, ow, ow. Yes, we did. I'm so sorry. So it says, we're going to hike to a remote area today, Mr. Jenkins yelled over his shoulder. Very few people even know where it is. Eddie jabbed Howie in the ribs. That means no one will be able to find us. Unfortunately, Mr. Jenkins heard Eddie. You're right. If somebody gets lost, it could be for good. So make sure you stay on the trail. That's the first rule of hiking. The second rule is always hike with a friend. Mr. Jenkins stopped to face the campers. He scratched his beard before saying, I expect you to pay attention. You'll need to remember everything I teach you, because tomorrow we're going on a night hike. With that, he turned and continued up the trail. Liza felt like her toes were going to fall off by the time they had finally stopped to rest. Whew, she complained. Hiking is hard. It's good for you, Mr. Jenkins growled, scratching his neck. It'll help you get in shape. Mr. Jenkins, Melanie blurted. Where are the bathrooms? Mr. Jenkins grinned, showing his eye teeth. The bathroom is as close as the nearest tree. Just watch out for poison ivy. It's real bad this time of year. Mr. Jenkins pointed to the vines growing up near several trees. No thanks, Melanie said. I'll wait. A few kids groaned as Mr. Jenkins led them up a dirt trail. It really was beautiful, with fires. No, absolutely not. Wildflowers filling the space between the towering pines. Mr. Jenkins, I'm hungry, Liza complained. Tough it out. A few minutes. We're almost there. Where's there? Eddie asked. You'll see, Mr. Jenkins said, and when we get there, we'll all have a snack. See, the pages are sticking together now. I could eat 2 humps off a camel, Howie explained. I'm too tired to eat, Melanie complained. You need to eat, Mr. Jenkins boomed. You could learn from Liza. She has some meat on her bones. Did you hear that? Howie whispered to Eddie. Eddie nodded his head. I bet he's planning on eating us during the night hike. Poor Liza. That's awful. I don't know why I'm laughing. Poor Liza. He'll probably eat the fat kids first. That's why he wants us to have a snack. He's trying to get us as fat as possible. Howie trembled at the thought. Fat or skinny, Eddie said. It doesn't matter. He'll just eat the fat kids first. Then he'll use us for toothpicks. Here we are, Mr. Jenkins called from the head. The prettiest spot in the forest, directly in front of the hikers, was a cliff as tall as the courthouse in Bailey City. A waterfall tumbled from the cliff and landed in a big, splashing, clear pool. Wow, Liza breathed. This is beautiful. It is, isn't it? Mr. Jenkins said in a surprisingly quiet voice. This is one reason why I love the woods. They all gulped down their snacks and waded into the water. Eddie splashed at everyone. By the time he was finished, no one was dry. Playing in the pool was so much fun. No one gave another thought to wolves or werewolves. After a while, all the campers climbed out onto the rocks to dry. Everyone was tired but Eddie. Watch this, he whispered to Howie. Eddie picked up a black, hairy spider by one of its legs, then held it close to Liza's blonde hair. My nose is itchy now, too. Everybody take your allergy medicine. Whew. Before Liza could even had a chance to scream, Eddie dropped the spider. But it didn't go on Liza's hair. It landed right in the center of Mr. Jenkins' huge, outstretched hand. Eddie gulped. He hadn't seen Mr. Jenkins walk up beside him. I see you found a spider, Mr. Jenkins said. Eddie's mouth was suddenly dry. Yeah, was all he managed to say. When you live in the woods, you learn to eat different things, Mr. Jenkins growled. As a matter of fact, I can... I'm sorry. My eyes read faster than my mouth. You'll see why I said... Oh my gosh. As a matter of fact, I consider spiders a delicacy. Of course, you have to know which kind won't kill you. Eddie's eyes grew wide. Really? Sure. Would you like to eat it? Mr. Jenkins dangled the spider in front of Eddie. No thanks, Eddie said as he cringed away from the struggling spider. Well, if you don't mind, I will. Mr. Jenkins popped the still wiggling creature into his mouth and smacked his lips. Thanks for finding the tree. Oh, he said. Eddie stood rooted to the ground as Mr. Jenkins walked away. Did he eat what I think he ate? Howie gasped, rather. Eddie nodded. Then in a voice that Howie could barely hear, Eddie said, I think we may be in big trouble. Chapter 10. Planting a cure. That night, Melanie, Liza, Howie, and Eddie snuck out of their cabins again. Their pockets were still stuffed with mistletoe and wolfsbane. In the distance, they could hear the howl of a lone wolf. Well, at least we know that Mr. Jenkins isn't in his cabin, Eddie whispered. Let's hope he stays away long enough for us to hide this stuff, Howie said. We better look in that book and see what it says, Melanie suggested. We want to make sure we do it right. They all nodded. When they got to Mr. Jenkins' cabin, Eddie barged right in. He didn't even bother to look at the window. Quick, Liza said as she clicked on her flashlight. Find the book. I can't, Howie exclaimed. Everything's been moved. Now what do we do, Melanie whined as a wolf's howl echoed through the woods. Well, we don't have time to search through all of these books, Eddie said. Let's just spread this stuff around and get out of here. Each kid pulled out a handful of wilted leaves. Howie opened a drawer in the dresser. How about if we put some in his clothes? But he never changes his clothes, Liza said. He wears the same thing all week. He has to change his underwear, Howie said as he dumped the leaves in the drawer. Eddie took his handful and stuffed it inside of Mr. Jenkins' pillowcase. I better put some under his mattress just to be safe, he said. With all of his hair, he's got to have a hairbrush, Melanie said. Here it is, Liza pointed to the dresser. Melanie took the brush and crumbled leaves onto it. Old Fur-Face ought to get a kick out of this, she laughed. Only Liza still had her mistletoe left. I don't know what to do with mine, she complained. There's no good place left. Well, hurry up, Eddie said. We don't have all night. Just then a howl sounded nearby. Yikes, Liza cried, throwing the mistletoe in the air. Little pieces of leaves scattered throughout the room. Let's get out of here. All four kids squeezed the door at the same time and raced down the dirt path to their cabins. That was close, Melanie gasped. Howie nodded. We finished just in time. Let's hope it works, Eddie said gravely. Okay. I was a little shocked at the title here. Chapter 11, Pussycat. The next morning, Mr. Jenkins wasn't at breakfast. As a matter of fact, he wasn't anywhere in sight. Maybe he vanished like the boy in the legend, Liza whispered. Eddie shook his head. I bet he's just resting up for tonight. One of the other camp counselors interrupted with an announcement. Mr. Jenkins isn't feeling well this morning. He's suffering from an allergic reaction. Howie poked Eddie in the ribs. It's the wolfsbane and mistletoe, he whispered. Eddie agreed. If he wasn't a werewolf, he wouldn't be sick. The camp counselor continued. Hopefully he will be better in time for the night hike. Do you mean we still have to go, Melanie asked the counselor. Oh, yes, the camp counselor said. Mr. Jenkins wouldn't want to miss tonight's full moon. He would just die if he didn't get to go. We might die if we do go, Eddie mumbled. While you're hiking with Mr. Jenkins, the camp counselor continued, we have to clean out the cabins. You mean the other camp counselors won't be coming? Melanie gulped. No, Mr. Jenkins said he could handle it by himself, said the camp counselor. So for the rest of the day, we'll take it easy. We don't want you to be too tired for tonight. Howie, Melanie, Liza, and Eddie tried all day to think of ways to get out of going. By lunchtime, they were worried sick. I can't eat a thing, Melanie said, holding her soggy taco. I'm too worried about tonight. Liza bit into her taco. You might as well eat now. It may be our last meal. Howie agreed. Yeah, we better get some food. We may need our strength for whatever happens tonight. Look, Melanie whispered. It's Mr. Jenkins. She pointed to a table at the other side of the dining hall. There sat a very pale Mr. Jenkins. That can't be Mr. Jenkins. He isn't Harry, Eddie said, shaking his head. But it is, Melanie insisted. Look at the dog tags around his neck. Mr. Jenkins hardly looked like himself. He wore his dog tags, but now he had on Nike tennis shoes and clean blue jeans. His orange t-shirt was clean, too. His hair was neatly combed and pulled back into a ponytail, and no trace of a beard was left. Indeed, it was hard to believe he had been Harry. Sure, he'd still had hair on his arms, but even that didn't look as thick. Wow, the wolfsbane and mistletoe must have worked. Howie looked amazed. Liza agreed. It really must be powerful stuff. As long as he's around those plants, we don't have anything to worry about, Howie said. We'll be safe until we go home tomorrow. We don't have to worry about that night hike now, Eddie smiled. You said it, Melanie agreed. Mr. Jenkins looks more like a pussycat than a werewolf. Okay, that makes more sense now for the title. I thought they were going to say there was like cats everywhere or something. Chapter 12, almost midnight. The night sky was as dark as ink, but the full moon lit the trail with an eerie silvery glow as the campers followed Mr. Jenkins up the dirt trail. I've never seen anything like it, Melanie said. Nobody can grow hair that fast, Liza agreed. Nobody human, that is, Eddie added. All right, a thick, black, stubble-covered Mr. Jenkins' face. His hair was tangled, and even his arms looked hairier. The wolfsbane and mistletoe must not affect him when he's away from it for long, Howie declared. If only we had saved some. Maybe we'd have a chance, Melanie wailed and stumbled over a root sticking up in the trail. Maybe we could find some more, Eddie said. After all, we are in the woods. No way, Howie moaned. Remember how long it took us to find it the first time? And that was in broad daylight. Liza clicked on her light pocket flashlight and said softly, I still have some left. What? They all cried together. I saved some of my mistletoe. I thought I could keep it until Christmas. Liza pulled a very crushed clump of leaves out of her pocket of her jeans. Liza, you're fantastic, Eddie said, grabbing it from her hands. Now, we just have to get close to him. Howie pointed to Mr. Jenkins, who was far ahead on the trail. That won't be easy. He's getting hairier by the minute. I wonder how long it takes him to turn into a werewolf, Melanie asked. It shouldn't be long now, Howie gasped as he looked at his glow-in-the-dark watch. It's almost midnight, and look, he's taking off his shirt. At midnight at a camp with kids? Okay. And look, he's taking off his shoes. The four campers gasped as Mr. Jenkins untied both Nike tennis shoes and kicked them to the side of the trail. The other campers didn't notice that Mr. Jenkins was changing in front of their very eyes. Half of the kids looked like they were ready to fall asleep, and the rest were hooting and hollering about being out in the woods so late. Come on, Eddie said. It's up to us to save everybody. Howie, Liza, Melanie, and Eddie ignored the complaints and shoves of the other campers as they pushed their way to the front of the group. Finally, they were right behind Mr. Jenkins. Eddie used all the skills of a pickpocket as he inched closer, holding his breath. He dropped the mistletoe into Mr. Jenkins' open backpack. He didn't dare breathe until he joined his friends. You did it, Howie whispered as he patted Eddie on the back. I just hope it isn't too late, Eddie sighed. Chapter 13, The Lone Wolf. It wasn't long before Mr. Jenkins started to scratch. It's working, Eddie said as he grabbed Howie's arm. Thank goodness, Howie cried. Mr. Jenkins was scratching like a dog with fleas by the time they reached the top of the hill. He turned to face the kids. His eyes looked red and teary. "We'll stop here and rest," he growled. Everybody dropped to the ground and slipped off their backpacks, even Mr. Jenkins. "Oh no," Melanie exclaimed. "Mr. Jenkins is taking off his backpack. Now what are we going to do?" Liza whined. Howie tried to stay calm. "As long as he's near the mistletoe, we should be safe." At that moment, Mr. Jenkins stood up. He scratched his beard and announced, "I'm going to scout out the trail ahead. You kids sit tight." With that, he walked off into the night, leaving his backpack behind. "We're dead now," Liza gasped. "Without the mistletoe nearby, he'll turn into a werewolf." "There's nothing we can do but stick together," Howie said quietly. "We better tell the rest of the kids about Mr. Jenkins. That way, everyone will be prepared." Melanie, Liza, and Eddie nodded. They turned and faced the other campers. "You're crazy," one of them said when Eddie had finished telling them about Mr. Jenkins. "Yeah," a little girl in the front agreed. "I don't believe in werewolves. There's no such thing." "I think you're watching too many movies," said the boy from the back. "But haven't you noticed how hairy Mr. Jenkins is?" interrupted Melanie. "And he's allergic to plants that are used to cure werewolves," Liza added. "So I'm allergic to a lot of plants," a chubby girl with pigtails says. "And I'm not a werewolf." "Good point, kid. Touché." The rest of the kids started laughing and making fun of Howie, Liza, Eddie, and Melanie. They were so busy giggling they didn't notice the clinking sound coming from the trees near the trail. Then a low growl sounded from the clump of bushes. One by one, the kids got quiet. "What's that?" Howie whispered. Nobody answered as the growls grew a little bit louder. "Maybe it's just a dog," a girl in a red jacket said. Just then, whatever was in the bushes darted back into the woods. There was enough moonlight to show the glimmering of dog tags. "That's no dog," Melanie exclaimed. "Dogs don't run on two legs." And dogs aren't that big," Eddie cried. And then they heard it, a howl that started out low. It grew louder and louder until it seemed as if the woods were filled with the cry of a lone wolf. "It's the werewolf," Melanie yelled. "Run for your lives." The campers turned and fled. Even though they were scared, they remembered to stay on the trail. They didn't stop until they were safe in their cabins. The dining hall was quiet the next morning, as all the campers thankfully chewed on rubbery sausage. Mr. Jenkins sat at a table all by himself. The black stubble on his face was almost a full beard, and his hair looked like it had pieces of dried leaves and twigs stuck in it. His clothes were torn and dirty. He didn't say a word about the midnight hike. The bus arrived after breakfast. All the campers dragged their Blue Bailey school gym bags onto the bus and found a place to sit down. Eddie and Howie headed towards the back of the bus. Liza and Melanie sat right in front of them. "I'm sure glad camp is over," Liza said. Several kids sitting nearby nodded. "We're just lucky to get away before Mr. Jenkins ate us," Howie said. "Do you really believe Mr. Jenkins is a werewolf?" a scrawny boy across the aisle asked. "You have to admit," Eddie said slowly, "Mr. Jenkins is no ordinary camp director." The kids on the bus stared at each other. "You could say that again," Melanie said. The campers peered out the window as the bus slowly began to move. There stood Mr. Jenkins. He waved and scratched his beard. Then he took a deep breath and howled the call of the lone wolf. That's the end. So let me know what you guys think. And we'll start the next book very soon. Make sure you go outside and play. It's actually really nice here today in New England. I don't know about everywhere else. But I hope you're enjoying the day.